I look regular today, guys. We're gonna ask Dana all the questions because she has a lot of information about food, what you need to do to your body, all of that. Y'all ready to hear it? All right, I'm just gonna ask her real questions. What is it like to constantly go to the store and have to look at every ingredient? Isn't that overwhelming?
I don't do that.
Oh, so what do you do?
Well, I don't buy foods normally that have multiple ingredients because I buy whole food. When you buy an apple, it's an apple.
Gotcha.
When you buy meat, it's meat.
Is it?
Well, I mean, I know you don't eat meat.
I don't eat meat.
But, you know, I do organic grass-fed beef, free-range, cage-free, of course, organic chicken, wild-caught salmon. That's what we buy for meat.
What store do you go to locally to buy that?
You can buy that in any store.
Oh.
You can get that at Trader Joe's, at Whole Foods,
Walmart,
at Walmart,
Target,
at Food Lion, at Harris Teeter, at Lidl's, at Aldi's. Any grocery store is going to make those products available because the market is demanding them
I think
now.
though, when you are a regular person in the store, I talk to a regular person, that's me, but you have to look for it. That's not the first thing they advertise, is the
you're
cleanest
right. I mean,
stuff.
you've got
you have to dig.
You've got to look for those things, but they're there with all the other meat.
Gotcha.
But I mean, we just try to stick to meat, vegetables, fruit, coffee.
What do you
Coffee is always organic as well.
So when you obviously buy like that, but how do you make your food taste good? Because a lot of times it's like you add a lot of salt to flavor your food, which is my favorite. Use a lot of salt. I love salt. If a restaurant does salt or you buy it and it has salt, I still add salt.
Well, let's talk about salt.
Yeah, what do you do to flavor up your food?
Well, first of all, get rid of your table salt and only use sea salt. And really, Himalayan pink salt is going to be the best. But even so, even if you're using a good, healthy salt, you want to minimize salt. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to just pack all your food with salt. Listen,
because salt does what to your body?
Well, the Himalayan pink salt actually can have some good cardiovascular benefits, so it can actually be good. But if you and it also helps you retain, some of your hydration. But
Himalayan salt helps you hydrate. Good sign for me.
Yes, but you don't want to just overdo it. It's like, listen, too much of anything sometimes is bad. So you just have to be very minimal with things. But yeah, I mean, I add salt to food. I don't oversalt food.
Yeah.
And I like my spices and my seasonings and all of that, and I buy organic seasonings even.
Can you really trust that when it says organic, that it's actually organic?
I don't know that you can trust anything anymore.
I know.
But I trust that more than one that says that is not organic.
Yeah. Even if it says organic, you still have to read about it because you're just like, it says organic, but what are y'all saying is organic? Because some stuff, even though it says organic, there's still some stuff that they spray that they put into an organic package, right?
There's certifications for organic.
Yeah, there are.
The problem with organic...
I don't know why you gave me that look.
And I'm not going to get into gardening because I'm not a gardener, really. I mean, I plant a few flowers here and there, and I've got me a few little... I got me some rosemary and basil growing on my porch. That does not make me a gardener. But it's about sustainable soil and those kind of things that some of the gardeners are like, that's more important because of the mitochondria, all these things. We can get in all kinds of technical stuff. I'm really not equipped to talk to you about all of that, so I'm not going to. But I know I have talked to organic gardeners, and they're like, there's no point in me getting certified as an organic gardener. I'm not spraying with pesticides. I'm not doing this and this and this. The certification just really costs a whole ton of money, and it really doesn't require that your soil stays sustainable and all of that. Yeah. So there's some pros and cons to that, but always organic is better than not organic. So if you go, and there's some foods that you definitely want to buy organic. Mm-hmm. Like there are those dirty foods, you always want to have organic. Some that it doesn't matter as much here.
Well, there's a good video on your channel that you went to a woman's house that she has a garden. Yeah, so y'all need to watch that video. I learned a lot from watching that. I was like, that's super cool.
Yeah, she taught me a lot about, organic gardening and the certification process and what benefits that has and what benefits it doesn't have. So yeah, she was very knowledgeable.
All right, well, let's talk about this. What got you into like eating clean? Because growing up, like, you were not like this when I was at home. So what really changed in your life? Because now you help so many other women like eat better and do better and live a healthier life. Like, what got you started with that?
We do better when we know better. And I grew up on some fried chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and homemade biscuits and yeah, we had some green beans almost every meal. That was our vegetable.
Canned green beans?
Yeah, a lot of times they were
garden. Did Grandma?
A lot of times they were canned green beans. My mama worked full time. My dad was a pastor. She always had a meal on the table in the evening. Morning before school, we had cereal and Pop-Tarts, sister.
Yeah.
And so
that's why I love Pop-Tarts. I don't eat them anymore.
Listen, now let's just be clear. I'm not saying that I hate all those awful foods, because they are good, and manufacturers make them so that you crave them. They make them, the ingredients in there are so that you just want it more and more and more. I just started getting those things out of my kitchen, and really that happened 20 years ago when I went to have Duncan. And I was 40 years old. I had a baby, and it rocked my world. I felt 20 when I went in to have him. I had a great pregnancy. I came out, and I felt 98 and a half, and I couldn't hardly walk, and my joints were all frozen up.
Your body was crazy.
I was not sleeping. I was nursing around the clock, and I was depressed, and I was crying, and I was hurting, so I was going to all the doctors trying to figure out, and of course they want to put me on antidepressants. I'm not knocking that. I did that for a little bit, but that really didn't fix my issue. Nobody knew what was wrong. They sent me an endocrinologist, they sent me to rheumatologists, they sent me everywhere. And finally, I ended up at my chiropractor. He had a holistic nutritionist in his office, and between the two of them and their massage therapist, they fixed me. The holistic nutritionist. She looked like a little Barbie doll. And
so
she was 20, 30 years younger than me. Her presentation was that I could never
have anything.
Ever have anything enjoyable to eat again in my lifetime, or I was going to die of cancer.
Well, how are you as a coach? Because when people work with you, like, are you that strict?
Not like that.
Okay,
no.
So tell us about, like,
she taught me a lot. Listen, I called her a couple years ago, and I looked her up, found her, and I said, listen, do you remember me? She said, oh yeah, I remember you. Wow. I would cry. I would sit in her office and cry every time I went. And I was paying her a ton of money to tell me these things. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. But I did continue to do what she told me to do.
Yeah.
And I got better. And so she taught me a lot. But I called her and I said, I don't know if you remember me or not. She said, yep. I said, I did not like you. She said, yep. And I said, I really, for years, I have just probably said some bad things about you. Yikes. Here I am still. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you. So I will tell you, as a coach, I'm direct. I tell the truth. I teach that same thing, because there are certain things that we put into our diet on a daily basis that's killing us.
Yeah.
Now, let's just be real.
Yeah. But it's like this slow death. Because stuff is not like you take it and you immediately feel terrible. It's like months and years later where you're like, what's wrong with my body? Don't you think it's like that? Sometimes it's not an instant
it's the perfect
feeling.
Storm hits. Yeah. It's like when I had Duncan, and I was 40 years old. I was premenopausal, but I was pregnant. I went in to have a baby. I had a spinal tap. I was filled up with fluid, and then I came home with a nursing baby, recovering from a C-section.
And a live-in nurse. Babysitter, aka
Amber
myself.
thinks and gives herself big credit for everything that happened to Duncan. Good. And that is not true. But I will tell you, I could not have gotten by without you, because you did. You were very helpful, and you got your driver's license and you could run errands. That was really what was so great.
Exactly. Those shows that are like 16 and pregnant, I'm like, that is the most miserable thing. That's the best birth control. Have your mom have a kid when you're a teenager.
And send her to the drugstore to get a pregnancy test.
You'll be humiliated the rest of your life. Let's talk about intermittent fasting, because this is like a whole thing I keep hearing.
Yeah.
And I really am confused by it. But it's like I understand it, but then I forget exactly what it means. Because I know that you do this, Angel does this, tons of your clients that you work with do this. So, like,
Yeah.
Why is that good?
And more doctors are sharing with their patients to do this because there's so much research and study that shows drastic improvement in cardiovascular health with blood pressure, triglycerides, bad cholesterol, not to mention just getting the visceral fat off, which the visceral fat is your belly fat, the fat that is around your organs.
Yeah.
And brain health, that is one of the things that probably most people my age are starting to think is, oh God, I don't want to lose my mind, because it happens, dementia, Alzheimer's. If you've ever known anybody that went through that, it's really, really a terrible, terrible disease.
Yeah.
I just want to keep my brain healthy. I want to be able to be mobile. I want to be able to get in the floor with grandkids and play and be able to get up without somebody pulling me up. I want to be able to go on walks. I want to be able to go to the beach. I just want to be able to go and do, and
walk on the beach
also
and get
know
shells.
who I am. Yeah, girl. They make fun of me because I like to go shell hunting.
She wants to walk for 6 hours and come back with a bag of shells.
I've come back with really great ones. But you were asking about intermittent fasting.
Yeah, because, okay, so it allows you, intermittent fasting it's the perks of what you just shared, but how do you do it?
Well, it's very simple. People try to make this very difficult and people do it wrong. Basically, the basic intermittent fasting is you fast for 16 hours and you eat for 8 hours. Not eat for straight 8 hours.
But between the 8 hours.
Yeah, so let's just say, for example, to keep it simple, you eat from 12 o'clock noon to 8 o'clock in the evening. That's your eating window. So you can have lunch, you can have dinner, you can have a snack in between.
Yeah.
You eat when you're hungry during that time. And there's a right way to break your fast at 12 o'clock too. So you can't just go grab you up some cheeseburger and pizza and french fries. But then after 8 o'clock, you don't eat anything, just drink water. And then, of course, you go to bed.
What about a juice? Could you juice during those times? That's still food.
Juice is going to give you nourishment.
Yeah.
So
the water.
You want your body to go through a fasting time of at least 16 hours because after 16 hours, your body has used up all of the glucose. Now, type 1 diabetics really can't.
You can't really do that as well. It'll probably have issues.
But I mean, if you're nursing or pregnant, you shouldn't do it. If you're a child, you shouldn't do it. And growing, you shouldn't do it. If you are type 1 diabetic, you shouldn't do it. If there are certain life or death medications that you have to have with food, you don't do it. I mean, there's certain types of people that should not do this. But overall, it's great for you to do it. There's nothing hazardous, dangerous, scary about it. It's
and
really
actually, low key, I think a type 1 diabetic could do it.
Yeah.
I think I could do it. You just have to be
very
strict and know your levels. Like, if you don't have control over your sugar levels, you'll be whacked.
So anyway, you stop eating at 8, you go, let's say you go to bed at midnight. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you've got 4 hours there, then you're going to sleep for 8 hours.
Yep.
So that's 12 hours. Let's say you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then from 8 to 12, that's 4 more hours. So that's 16 hours fasting.
So you have to, it really depends on, I guess, too, like when you go to bed. Because some people go to bed earlier, some people wake up earlier. So, like, if you wake up at 5.
And the window can be adjusted. It's not a set time. I'm just using that to keep it simple. But
so I would say that's why people need to work with you, because I think there's so many questions and you want clarity. That's the thing. Like, on your channel, I think you share so much of, like, what you need to do and like how to do it, but there's also that in between of like, I need clarity, I need to ask you this question, I'm having an issue, what should I, you know what I mean, that type of stuff. That's why a coach comes in to play, because you're just aware, knowledgeable.
I just assume that most people are like me and they need their hand held for a minute.
Just when you're new at something.
Yeah, when you don't know what you're doing. It's just like when you were teaching me how to do video.
Yeah.
I didn't know, and you could tell me all day long, you could send me links to watch, you could send me all the stuff, and I wasn't going to get it. But when you sat down,
she's like, not getting it.
But when you sat down with me, listen, you're like that too.
Yeah. No, everybody's like that. I just think it's very funny because it's true.
So, but when we sat down side by side and you walked through it, and I made notes, and then you watched me walk through it, so that's what I mean by handheld.
Yeah.
So you need to just have that one-on-one guidance. And that's where a coach comes in so beautifully, because not only do you have some instruction. You have encouragement.
Yeah.
You have a little bit of inspiration and motivation. You have accountability.
Right.
And, you know, everybody's a little bit different. So I coach people with diabetes, cholesterol issues, blood pressure issues. You know, they've had cancer. I mean, all kinds of situations and all kinds of autoimmune disorders and diseases, because today, practically everybody, I mean, I think the statistics are like up in the 90s that people,
crazy.
90% of
really
people
high.
have some type of autoimmune disease because our gut health is a mess because of the food we're eating and how we're eating. And so it's really not, I mean, I believe in real life.
Yeah.
I enjoy my life. You know, I'm going to have a dessert sometime.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out to
family
eat
event.
and, you know, I'm not going to say, oh, I mean, listen, there are times I have done that.
Yeah. Well, if you know, I think it's a mind game with yourself. You have to mentally be strong in those situations, because if you know you're going to eat it and you're going to feel terrible after, then you have to have self-control and not do it. It's like that temptation.
There's a time and place, like when you know you're sick, you have a symptom, you have a situation. And for me, when I finally got diagnosed with what was causing all of my pain and all this turmoil going on with me, it was an autoimmune issue. It was a gut issue, and it was candida, overgrowth. It was inflammation, a lot of things. And so to get rid of that, there's some specific certain things that you need to take out of your diet, and you need to do it for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
Or you're not going to get well. You might feel better. You know, you can do it for a few days, and this is what most people do. You change everything for a week or two, and you're like, oh, I've dropped 2 pounds, and I feel so great.
Exactly.
And then you go right back.
So
And then in a few weeks, you're right back. And so it's like, get rid of it. The best illustration is this. If you had a pond, and you know, we got this little pond out here. If you had fish in your pond, and you know, we don't have a mountain that the pond is being fed by from a trickling stream, but if you did, and your fish all died, now our fish got eat up by
a blue heron.
But but the heron was happy. But anyway, if your fish die and you're like, oh, my water must have gotten contaminated, let me get all these dead fish out, and we'll drain the pond and fill it back up with good water, and then put some more fish in there, and the fish are swimming happy, and then all of a sudden the fish die again, and you're like, oh God, the water's contaminated again, what the heck? And it's from what is trickling from upstream.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
And that is what's going on in our body. It's like we can get our gut feeling better, we can get things better, and even reduce some inflammation. But if everything is coming from the cellular level, and we're made up of all these cells, then it trickles back in. So you've got to get yourself well enough to you heal the cell.
Yeah.
All the way. So you can't just target this issue and say, oh, I'm gonna work on my gut, or I'm gonna do a liver cleanse, or I'm gonna do a colon cleanse, or I'm gonna do this cleanse. Yeah, that's like taking the fish water out and putting more in.
Back in.
But you're not fixing the issue.
Yikes. Can y'all imagine your gut is like a nasty pond? That's gross.
It gets contaminated, and it gets full of inflammation, and then you have leaky gut, and then that causes all kinds of issues.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this. 2 more questions I have for you is, you know, working with women, not just in your local area. So kind of how does that work when you work with women outside of your town? And I think it's beautiful. With social media, we can do all types of things no matter where you are. So how does that work for you as a coach? And then where can we send these women to connect with you?
Well, I love that I can connect with women all over, because, and most of what I do is over the phone.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those coaches that is like, meet me at the gym, we're just going to work out. I'm not the workout coach. Y'all can look at me and tell I am not the workout coach, but I do exercise, and I exercise at home, and I teach, you know, how to have good, healthy movement. I do a lot of stuff through video and through one-on-one phone conversations. So lots of great resources, but I'm not going to just say, hey, here I am, your coach. Here's a bunch of videos, watch those, and you're going to know what to do. I am instructing and walking, hand-holding with you. But I also do groups. So I do one-on-one coaching, and then I do these 66-day challenge groups that I am loving because then I have, and I try to keep it to a minimum of about 10 women at a time, and I do just coach women. Now I could coach a man one-on-one. I'm not going to allow a man in my groups because women love just being in there with other women.
And being vulnerable, that's the difference.
But they share with one another, and then, I'm in there on a daily, and they're getting takeaways every day, and they're having the accountability and all of that. But it's really, social media has made it so that we can truly
do that,
reach out to everybody. And the way that people can connect with me is on my website. So the best way to do that is just to go to my website.
Okay. Right here, click it, danamcneill.com, and then on the website, does it immediately instruct them on where to go to
Well, the
contact
first
you?
thing you would do is register for my kitchen conversion list.
Ooh, that's a super fun list. Okay.
Well, because that's the one thing that my holistic nutritionist taught me, and I did in the beginning, and I had to kind of reteach myself to cook a little bit, because instead of using refined flour, now I was using things like almond flour and flaxseed meal and things like that. And then instead of using my refined sugar, now I was using, organic stevia extract and xylitol and those kind of things. So there's some things to definitely switch over to, and just to get out of your kitchen. Nobody needs to be filling themselves up or cooking every day with refined flour and refined sugar.
Yeah.
And then, getting rid of your table salt. So there are different things on there.
So you have a gift for her right now. That is incredible. So on her website, go get it and download that, because that's really going to be a cool little game changer.
Yeah, and if you just go on there and register, it just asks for your name and your email, and then it sends you the list to your email.
Yeah, that's super convenient. I love that.
And then I reach out to you and make a connection, just to kind of welcome you to my website. We're in the process actually of getting something set up in there that for registration directly to one of my groups. This is something kind of new that I just started in January, and so I'm just now starting my third 66-day challenge group. Yep. And I only do one group at a time because I really want to give all the energy and effort and focus
on those women.
Yeah. And I keep pricing very reasonable so that everybody can participate in this. There's no reason anybody couldn't do this.
Yeah.
Because
so
I really want people to get healthy.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about you that I really like, Mom, is that you've been through this, and that's the difference in coaches is that being coached by someone that's actually doing what she says to do. Not just going like, well, I've read this and this is my advice, or I did this years ago and it worked for me, so let me teach you how to do it. Like, she's still living this lifestyle, because what you do is really a lifestyle. It's not just a couple weeks we're going to do this. even though it's a 66-day challenge, that challenge rolls over into creating a habit for your life. So I love that, and I'm glad I got to kind of talk to you and ask you questions. I love that you said that about
habits, because that's why I did the 66 days.
Yeah.
It really does take 66 days to form a habit.
Yeah.
It takes 2 days to derail one. And that's why the day-to-day accountability is so important. And that's why people fail.
Yeah.
They sign up to do, and I won't even name any of these plans, but there are a zillion plans out there. And there are a zillion little things online.
Yeah.
But then they leave you. They're like, okay.
Well, because nobody, this is
maybe
the thing
it's a
too.
check-in once a week or whatever, but in a week's time, gosh, you can completely derail.
So much. It's so funny because in those situations, and I'm sure your clients tell you this, but if you don't have someone that's actually like not necessarily watching you, but watching you, you don't have anybody to check in with. You're like, well, I mean, who knows that I was even doing this anyways? Who cares if I go eat, Chick-fil-A today and have a chicken sandwich? Like, you don't have anybody watching that. Or even saying, hey, in 2 days, let's follow up and let's go through what we ate or what we did different. And then you would feel so bad to be like, oh my gosh, I went and had fries and a chicken sandwich. And you're like, no, you just screwed up your whole thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that's really nice to have accountability. But Yeah, super cool.
Well, and it really is, there's certain things that everybody should or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And then there's certain things that if you're struggling with this or this or this,
Yeah.
this is what you really shouldn't do. But this might be okay.
So everybody's different.
Everybody's a little bit different, and so it allows me to kind of tweak things with everybody. But we all start off in these groups very clear on what the boundaries are, very clear on these are the things to stay away from, these are the things to eat more of. This is what you really need to incorporate. And you know, we kind of lose sight sometimes of just staying hydrated, just having some good movement in your day.
Yeah.
Having some good de-stress and some mental clarity time, and then getting good rest at night. I'm amazed at how many people can't sleep.
Yeah.
That is a big issue, and that's one of the main things that improves immediately when I start working with people. They're like, oh my gosh, I slept all night for the first time.
Yeah.
And we just need to be healthier, and our world, let's face it, is not helping us to be healthier. So, but more and more people are becoming aware and more educated.
Yeah.
And I hope that what I do has a trickle out effect on people.
Trickling effect.
Yeah.
Well, this was so cool. Thank you for inviting me to your porch.
You're my
it's
daughter.
my porch. Thank you. Connect
You're
on
welcome.
DanaMcNeill.com. Coolest mom, healthy woman over here. Get plugged in, guys.
All
All
right.
right. Thanks for having me.
See you later.
Well, this was really fun.
Wait, don't find another video just yet. Check out the following bloopers and also get some clean juicing tips too.
Oh, hi. Is that how you talk to your daughter?
Yeah.
No, you're normally like, what do you want? I stopped at Clean Juice down the street from my mom's, and it's so good. Tell me what you think of Clean Juice.
I mean, I make my own clean juice.
I know I don't have a juicer, I'm not fancy. I get their sweet green.
Just ignore that.
And their orange.
There's traffic. It's just going to be traffic.
And their pink drink. Those are my favorite
What all
three.
is in there?
We find the ingredients: cucumber, apple, kale, spinach, and mint, and it's all organic.
But I have my own juicer at
It's like a
home,
big thing.
and I do love some juice. And I usually do celery, apple, lemon.
Celery tastes terrible, but it is good. And
Well, when
it
you
brings
mix
a
it
lot
with
of water.
I like it as a juice, actually. Yeah, all the stuff.
I feel like sitting right here, I'm cropped out, so I want
are.
y'all to see my full appearance.
Move it.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
What about like Kroger's? Kroger's is a part of Trader Joe's, so if they don't live in like North Carolina,
are?
East Coast, I think so. I think Trader Joe's owns Kroger's.
Trader Joe's owns Aldi's.
I know, but there's a Kroger's in Florida, and I think that Trader
we don't
Joe's
have
has
Kroger's
something.
here.
I know, but if they have Kroger's, you
Yeah,
got people
I mean,
outside of North Carolina.
Listen, here's the deal.
I grew up here. Actually, this is my porch. Let's be clear. I played a lot on this porch.
This porch has changed a lot. over
It
the years.
has changed a lot. Lots of lizards still.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of creatures.
Amber like
Well,
the
this
creatures.
is really cool. The only thing that's changed about this porch is the sound.
Well, you know, we used to have railing up.
No, I'm saying the highway.
Oh, I know. The highway, definitely. So we used to live out in the country on a little road
Nobody
that
would
we
drive
barely
by.
ever saw a car.
Yeah. They'd be like, where do you live? You'd be like, oh, that road? Now everybody knows this
But
road.
I love it out here.
I feel like I'm being attacked by birds.
They're not attacking me.
Hey, check out one of my videos on eliminating toxicity, cooking, ingredients, coaching, intermittent fasting, and hey, subscribe, and thanks for watching.